Someone apologizes for forgetting your birthday, then 2 days later asks you to cover for them at work like the apology earned them a favor. Or they promise you'll finally take that trip together next year, but next year never comes. These aren't accidents. They're manipulation tactics disguised as normal behavior. Here's what most people don't realize about manipulation. It rarely looks like the obvious villain twirling a mustache. The most effective manipulation happens in patterns so subtle you question yourself before you question them. And once you know what to look for, these tactics become impossible to miss. Not so. You become paranoid, so you can protect yourself from people who are using your trust against you. Let's break down 5 manipulation tactics that sound innocent until you see the pattern. First one, selective memory. You bring up something they said or did, and suddenly they have zero recollection of it. But it's not random amnesia. They remember everything that makes them look good, and conveniently forget everything that makes them look bad. You told me you'd help me move. I never said that. You promised we'd talk about this issue. I don't remember promising anything. And here's the trap. You start doubting your own memory. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. But notice this. They never forget when you owe them something. They never forget your mistakes. Their memory is incredibly sharp when it benefits them, and incredibly fuzzy when it doesn't. What you're dealing with isn't bad memory. It's strategic forgetting. I had this happen with someone who kept making plans, then canceling last minute. When I finally brought up the pattern, they looked at me confused. Like, what are you talking about? I only canceled once. Except I could list 6 times in 2 months. But to them, those cancellations just didn't exist, because remembering would require accountability. So they edited their own history and expected me to accept their version. Second tactic, moral licensing. They do one good thing, then use it as permission to do something harmful. They build up credit through a kind gesture, then cash it in to justify bad behavior. I drove you to the airport last month, so you can't be upset I borrowed your car without asking. I helped you move, so now you owe me coverage for my mistake at work. See how it works? One good deed becomes emotional currency. They spend whenever they want a free pass. The pattern is always the same. They do something nice, often something you didn't even ask for. Then later, when you set a boundary or call out bad behavior, they bring up that nice thing like it canceled out everything else. But relationships aren't transactions. Kindness shouldn't come with strings attached, and one good action doesn't erase ongoing harmful patterns. Third tactic, and this one will make you question your sanity. Moving the goalpost. Someone constantly changes the rules or standards, so you can never succeed. You meet their demand, and suddenly it's not enough. You need to be more affectionate. Okay, you try. Now you're being clingy. You need to give me space. Okay, you back off. Now you're distant and don't care. This is deliberate, because if you can never meet their standard, you can never challenge them. You're too busy trying to fix yourself to notice they're the problem. And the moment you get close to meeting their expectation, they'll move the target again. It keeps you off balance, constantly. Trying constantly, failing constantly, thinking you're the issue. Fourth tactic, intermittent reinforcement. This is when someone gives you just enough good treatment to keep you hoping, but not enough consistency to feel secure. They're cold for days, then suddenly warm and affectionate. They ignore your texts, then show up with flowers. They criticize you constantly, then give you one compliment that makes you forget everything else. And here's why it works. Your brain becomes addicted to those random moments of good treatment. You keep trying to recreate that feeling. You keep thinking, if I just do the right thing, they'll be that version of themselves more often. But that's the hook. The inconsistency isn't a flaw in their behavior. It's the entire strategy. Because if they were consistently bad, you'd leave. If they were consistently good, you'd have standards. The randomness keeps you stuck. Fifth tactic, future faking. Someone makes elaborate promises about the future they never intend to fulfill. Next year, we'll finally take that trip. Once I get this promotion, things will be different. When things calm down, I'll make more time for us. Except next year comes, and there's a new excuse. The promotion happens, but nothing changes. Things never calm down because the future they're selling was never real. This keeps you invested. It keeps you waiting. It keeps you giving them the benefit of the doubt because you're focused on the promised future instead of the current reality. And every time you bring up the broken promises, they make new ones. The carrot stays dangling. You stay chasing. Now here's what's critical. Not everyone who does these things is consciously manipulating you. Some people learn these patterns from their own survival and genuinely don't realize they're harmful. But impact matters more than intent. And if you keep seeing these patterns, the why doesn't change the fact that you're being harmed. Ask yourself one question. Do I feel more confused or more clear after interacting with this person? Because manipulation thrives in confusion. Healthy relationships create clarity. If you constantly question your memory, your feelings, your reality around someone, that's not love. That's not friendship. That's control wearing a mask. If you're tired of doubting yourself in relationships where something feels off but you can't name it, hit subscribe, because this channel is psychology for people learning to trust their instincts again. We break down the tactics, give you the language, and remind you that you're not crazy, you're just finally seeing clearly. Here at Psyclip says, we don't just talk about psychology. We make it make sense for people who are done being confused by behavior they know isn't right. Next week, we're breaking down why some people need to make everything about them and what that reveals about insecurity disguised as confidence. Your clarity is coming. You've got this.